Now, we are recording.
Okay, everyone. My name is Joseph Skoda, Program Quality Director of District 33, Toastmasters Rock. We're glad to be here today. Our focus of this webinar is Pathways, and we have an awesome DTM on the line going to share his experience in the Pathways program and everything he's done to ensure success, not just for him, but in everyone he's trained. So please help me welcome Mr. Chuck Hooper. All right, Chuck.
Thank you, Joseph. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to mute people as they come on. You'll see me staring at the screen. What I'm going to do today is try to walk through pathways from beginning through a point where you'll be where everything after that is just repeating various steps. So if you have questions along the way, go down on your computer to the chat box. If you hover over the screen, you'll see a chat box appear at the bottom. Click on the chat box. When you click on the chat box, click on the where it says 2 at the bottom, click on the drop down, pick Joseph Skoda. You are going to be sending your questions to Joseph, or it just says Joseph. You'll be sending your questions to him, and then he will be the one that moderates and interrupts if we need to. So what I'm going to do now is go down to the share on my screen and tell it to share my screen to. Share, because I'm going to walk through this and show you. Does everybody see the Zoom screen? Okay, I've got everybody on mute. Can you see a Google screen? Just give me a nod or something if you can see the Google screen. Everybody sees it? All right. Here's the thing with pathways. I'm going to talk for a minute without showing anything. There are 11 paths in Pathways. Pathways is a training program. The training program is situated so that each individual picks one of the 11 paths. Paths can be about leadership, about coaching, about planning, about professional speaking or presentation mastery, team collaboration, visionary communications. There's even an engaging humor path. So there are 11 paths, and we're going to walk through the process to pick your path. If you've already picked a path, and I've already completed 3, I'm almost done with my 4th. I'm going to buy a 5th path tonight just to show you how to go through the process. When I put my credit card on the screen, don't pay attention. Okay, we have somebody talking that I need to mute. Let's see. Hang on while I try to get a big screen up there. If you've just signed on, please mute yourself.
I'm muted. I'm muted.
And I'm looking to see most people are muted. Just 1 second while I go through the list.
The car. Put your mind.
Okay, everybody's muted, but I still hear somebody. Is that you, Joseph?
That's Joseph.
Oh, jeez. Do you want me to mute you, Joseph, until there's a problem? Okay. The first thing you do, you have to have a user ID on Toastmasters International. So I'm going to, in a browser here, I'm using the Chrome browser. I'm just going to key in toastmasters.org. And I want to log in. Before I go do anything, Pathways or anything else, I want to log in. Even if you do not have a login account for Toastmasters International, click on Login. Your membership ID or the email Toastmasters knows you by is your user ID. Your password, if you already have one, great. If you do not have one, you leave the field blank and go down to Forgot Password. That way you'll get an email instructions on how to set your password. Once you have your password set, you come back to this screen. You go to toastmastersinternational.org, click on login, enter your user ID, which is again either your member ID in Toastmasters or the email address Toastmasters knows you by. Put in your new password and click log in. And we are at a bad time of the month, I think, for getting Toastmasters to respond quickly. So have a little patience here. Of all the different options we see on the screen, the one we want is pathways. So I'm going to do this. Click on pathways. The option we're going to talk about first is choose a path. If you've never had a path, you've never chosen a path, this is your first time through, choose a path. If you've already started with one path and you want to add another path, I'm going to add another path in this training. So we're going to click on choose a path. Down here, we're waiting on Toastmasters. Now, select your path language. If you select other than English, you're on your own. So we're going to select English for our path language. You have a couple of choices on how you would like to access the materials. For some people, they want the printed materials. They would click on the select printed materials here, and I click on continue. Those printed materials cost $25. And if you don't need them, you're just thinking you want them, let me give you a little caveat. Rumor is that you don't get the whole set right away. You get a partial set after you've been approved for completing part of your path. You get the rest of the materials. Some people find that aggravating. Most people, if you have a computer, and those of you right now that are online do, select digital resource. The digital resource just says you're going to be using your computer to process your way through your path. Now, how would you like to select your learning path? This is new from the beginning. In the beginning, we only had one way to select a path, and that was to take an assessment, a series of questions that help us understand what the likely best path is. Even if you go through the assessment, and we're going to walk through that in a minute, you go through the assessment and you don't like what it suggests, you can pick another one. If you've been through a couple of paths, you know what you want, you can click on this option, view the path options, say continue. We're going to back up in a minute, and it will give you a hint about what each path is about. And you can see you have visionary communications, strategic relationships, team building, motivational strategies, whatever. I'm going to hit the back button now. With each one of these, you can click on something to get more information about it. You can even say, I want to see all projects in the path. Each path is made up of 5 levels. Each level has multiple projects within a level that you have to complete. So at this point, you're able to view, if I said, show me a little more about dynamic leadership, it gives me a basic description, view all projects. I can click on that and see what the 5 different projects are. Project 1, we're going to stay on this for a minute. Project 1 is the same in all paths. You have to do an icebreaker speech, a couple of other 5 to 7 minute speeches, and the goal is to keep getting your evaluations after each speech, taking into account the learnings from those evaluations in giving your next speech. Project 2 in most paths is learning your style. What is your communication style? Projects 3, 4, and 5 build on knowledge in the path you have chosen Each project has, one or two speeches and then some electives. Let's just look at electives for one of these. Electives are things like building a social media presence, creating a podcast, managing an online meeting. There's a series of different things you have to do that go beyond just speaking. Each one of these paths, and you get past level 2, the last 3 levels are more specific to the subject matter of the path you've chosen. So I'm going to back up here a couple of screens. The other way we can pick our path rather than just obtaining the digital media, or excuse me, other than the printed with the digital media. When I say I want digital media, and it gives me my 2 options, the one we just looked at is I want to pick a path, I know what I'm doing. You would typically do this after you've been through a couple of paths and you know what the process is. Then go pick the path you want for your learning. If you're not sure what you want, and we recommend this for first timers and for younger people that are just getting started in trying to accomplish some public speaking, you take an assessment. The assessment is a series of questions. We're going to take an assessment. And don't be like me. You click on it, it doesn't go anywhere until you say continue. Again, I suggest you do it in English, otherwise I can't help you. Start the assessment. I click on start. The first thing it says is select 3 topics you are interested in learning about. Don't select 1, don't select 2, don't select 4, 5, or more. It must be 3. So I'm interested, let's say, in public speaking, motivating others, and speech writing. I'll just pick 3. You have to pick 3. Go down and say next. It asks you a series of questions. We're going to run through them. Here's the key. If you are doing this or you are helping someone else, my recommendation is they go relatively slow through this. Think about the answers. Which of the following topics is most related to personal and professional goals? Well, for me, I might say motivating others. Click on that one and say next. Learning about what will help me significantly in my personal and or professional life. Well, maybe that's public speaking. I'll use that to motivate others. I seek out leadership opportunities. Well, I disagree strongly, disagree, I'm unsure, agree, strongly agree. I'm going to say strongly agree for me because I want to be the boss all the time. We're going to walk through these questions. It'll just take a few minutes. While speaking, I'm aware of how others are reacting to what I'm saying. Well, I'll agree with that. Sometimes I'm not so sure. I'm not sure what to do with my hands while giving a speech. Well, this is one of those interesting questions. I am sure what to do with them. I don't always do it. So maybe I'll answer that. Yeah, I agree, but I'm not going to strongly agree. We're just walking through these questions. I'm flexible enough to adapt to others' communication styles. Yeah, I think so. Engaging in a group discussion with other people makes me nervous. Disagree. I often initiate conversations with people I don't know well. I agree with that. Ordinarily, I'm very calm and relaxed in conversations. Sure, I am. I haven't threatened anybody yet. I seek out new opportunities to do things. New ways to do things. I'm not sure. At my age, maybe I like the old dog, new tricks. Don't teach me one. I'm generally cautious about accepting new ideas. No, strongly disagree. I like new ideas. So we're just walking through, we're about halfway through. I'll pick up the pace here. I show my understanding of others by reflecting their feelings back to them. Not sure. I know how to respond because I am perceptive and attentive to other behaviors. Now, I would say agree, but I have people on the line that would tell me I disagree, so I'll just give them a break. In conversation, I talk about things which are of interest to both myself and the other person. I agree. Now, do you see what's going on here as it runs through these questions? It's trying to learn a little bit about who and what you are, not only in the communication world, but in your ability to deal with other people. I like to get involved in group discussions. Yes. I feel relaxed while giving a speech. Yes. I show my involvement in conversation, both non-verbally and verbally. Yes. Just doing agree. I adapt my communications behavior to meet others' expectations. I think so. I prefer to be a team member rather than a team leader. I'm going to disagree. While giving a speech, I get so nervous I forget facts I really know. I'm going to disagree with that. I make eye contact with my audience while presenting a speech, typically. Once I set an interpersonal communication goal for myself, I know the steps to achieve it. Well, I'm not sure until I see the goals, the steps. Working in a team and a good community is a good opportunity for me to understand myself better. I'll agree with that. About 3 more here. I'm reluctant to adopt new ways of doing things until I see them working for people around me. Yeah, maybe. So these questions are just trying to learn more about me. I use a wide variety of behaviors, including self-disclosure and wit to adapt to others. I agree. 96% complete. I use a wide variety of behaviors. Oh dear, what was that? Don't do this to me. Oh, don't do this. It just decided to flip ahead on me here, and I don't know why. Okay, you saw where we were going with that. We're just going to adjust. We had 2 more questions to answer, and it just jumped back, and I don't know why. So we're going to pretend I went through all of them, and I went through all of them, and it's digital that I want, and I'm going to pick my path. So it's going to go, view path options. This is basically where it would go to if I had completed that, the next question, if it let me go. It would have gone and said, here are 3, little different screen. Here are 3 we recommend, first, second, and third, and you'd have a drop-down list to show all the paths that are available. Well, I know right now what I want to do is sign up for motivational strategies. I've done 3 of the others. I'm on a 4th one now. What you would see signing up the first time or going through the process without Zoom meeting jumping ahead on me, you would still select from the list or the drop down what you want to do, motivational strategies. Now, if your path says I selected to go ahead and continue, if the path you selected is the first one you've done, the very first one, it's free. If you go into other paths, and I think you have some time, if you're a club that's just been brought into Pathways, you have some time. We are well beyond that time for the district now. So I am in a screen now that's going to let me pay for my additional path. I'm going to sign up for another path now. Your first one will be free. You won't have to go through this screen. Got my name and address in there. I'll say next. Now I have to be careful here. It says, how do you want to pay? I'm going to pay by this number. And I don't want to do this on screen. So I'm going to just move this screen over here for a minute so you don't see everything you need to. Oh God, where'd that screen go? This thing is giving me fits. Zoom is not being nice to me today. Hang on one second. I got a key in my code. So I'm keying my CVC code, whatever it is. That is just the code to get your credit card approved. And now I will move back. Please review your order information. Here's my order information. I'm buying one path. The one path is $20. Place my order. And it says I'm done. Thank you for your order. It has an order number, a confirmation email that's going to send to me. Now, I didn't have anything shipped, so I'm not going to see anything shipped, but it has my shipping and billing address, which are the same. So now when I go back into Pathways, I should see that path, and I should see it as one that's available to me to start. So you've started a new path, or you've done this for the first time. We're going to go back to the Pathways link up here. And now instead of picking a path, I want to go to Basecamp. Forevermore, once you have a path selected, you're going to go to Pathways and select Go to Basecamp. We're not going to cover all the other options. That's just too much to handle in an hour. We go to Basecamp. If you are a member of more than one club, pick the club you want to be dealing with as a Pathways person. When you get an award, it only goes to one club. You can be in 3 or 4 or 5 clubs, but your award only goes to one club. So pick the one you want. I'm going to pick Olive Branch Orators. I have other clubs here, but I want what I do to go there. I go to Basecamp. In 2 years of Pathways, I have never touched either one of these other boxes. Keep it simple. I go to Basecamp, and if I'm really lucky and Toastmasters has already processed my update, I'm going to see it eventually. Now, you see this box? It's going to let me go next and walk through each of these boxes with a description. It is doing that because the IP address where I'm calling from changes every single day. If you have a static IP address, you won't see this every day. If, on the other hand, your IP address changes every time, you will see this because it thinks you're a new person coming in. I can click the X on this little box and get rid of it. I don't need to know any of this. I'm not interested in these. I just want my educational transcript to access my path. Yay. Now you can see I'm in the persuasive influence path and I can open that curriculum. But what we're doing now is we're starting from scratch. I just selected this. So these motivational strategies, I want to open the curriculum. And you can see I'm sitting on motivational strategies. I click level 1. Level 1, it tells me what are each of my projects. My icebreaker project is the first one. The icebreaker is just like in the traditional Toastmasters. It's a 4 to 6 minute speech. And I've heard people complain, well, I've already done this a half a dozen times. Why do I have to do it with every path? It's not a speech about you every time. The icebreaker is to get your club members to know something about you. And my recommendation, you don't have to follow it, is that you give a speech about why you're in the path you've chosen so the club members know a little bit about what they can do maybe to help you along the way. You've chosen a path for a reason. Let them know why. So I want to activate this. You don't always have to activate the projects in order. It is strongly recommended that you do. You're going to do them all anyhow. Do them in order. And you can see up here it says not activated. The icebreaker status is not activated. I'm going to activate it just by clicking this button. That tells Pathways, this is the one I want to work on. Now it says registered. This is the one I'm going to work on. I want to launch this. By launching it, it starts going through a process of giving me videos, pictures, words. What is this project all about? And we're going to wait for it to come up with that little thing. Okay. The icebreaker, level 1 project, begin. I click begin. It explains what this screen is all about. And basically the screen says, sometimes you'll see something like this, click the next button to go through things. You'll see these arrows left and right. You can walk back and forth through this series of screens to help you understand what the icebreaker is. There's a drop down that you can click and go to any one of the processes that we're going to walk through sequentially. We're going to go through these sequentially, but you could go pick one if you knew what you were doing. We're just going to walk through by clicking the next arrow. There's an introduction. Read what these say. These introductions are just a little bit about what the project is about. Now, we're not going to read through every one. That takes a little more time than we'll have. So we're just going to click ahead. More of an introduction, what it is you're trying to do, what's the beginning of this project, and what you're going to know when you're done with it. The project culminates in you giving a 4 to 6 minute speech, the first one that all Toastmasters present to their clubs. Well, you may have done an icebreaker in the past. This is the first one for this path. Tell people why you're in this path. As we keep going forward, we will get more information about the icebreaker project. Now, when you see a screen go dark like this, it's because it has automatically popped up some directions for you. You can print a PDF version of this project by clicking on a link. Oh, I just want to hear more about the project, so I take the directions drop down and just say, get away from me, I'll take this. Along the way, you'll be reading about the purpose and overview of our project, and typically you will see these little red underlined links. Here's a project checklist. It's just a PDF file that we might want to go to. As we walk through these, and again, I'm going to get rid of this. Eventually, we hit what's called the assess your skills before. It's a series of 6 questions. We answer the questions. Answering these questions tells Pathways, tells the club and the VPE, we are ready to give this speech. So I'm going to answer these 6. I am confident and calm when speaking in front of groups. Pretty much. Next. Don't hit the arrow key. Hit next. Anytime you see these little buttons, just use the next and the back. I understand the structure of a basic speech. Well, I'll say, yeah, pretty much. I am aware of my strengths as a communicator and leader. I think so. I'm aware of where I need to improve my communications, listening, thinking, and speaking and leadership skills. I'm going to pick a 3 here because there's some people on the line that would laugh if I did a 4 or 5. I have clear communications and leadership goals. I really don't. And next question, I recognize how this project applies to my life outside of Toastmasters. Yeah, I really do recognize it. I'm just not ready, maybe. Now you notice there's no next button down here, but there is a submit. That means I've gone through all the questions. At this point, when I hit submit, it is a little feedback window that just says you've successfully submitted your responses. After you've completed this entire project, we'll go back through some of this, and that's what I'm going to show now. I'm going to jump out of this screen. Just completely get out of it. Go back to my icebreaker, and you see this thing that said registered before my status now says in progress? By doing the before assessment, I have told Toastmasters, I am ready to give this speech. Now, Pete O'Brien, are you still on the line? I have to unmute you to find you. Yeah, Pete's there. Pete is the vice president or is the president of the club. So the fact that I have put this in progress, I can go to my club now. I can do my icebreaker. And when I'm done, we're going to do a little pretend here, and then I'm going to have to catch up. He's going to approve me for this in a minute, and then I'll have to give the speech or he'll be angry with me. You go to your club, you give the speech. You come back into Pathways the way we did, launch this project, and now we have to tell Pathways, I have completed this 4 to 6 minute speech. So I launch. Now you see it's still on the before. It picks somewhere in what I've done. I want to go to this bottom, check this bottom drop down. I want to do my assessment after. I've done my speech. I've been evaluated. What did I learn? I'm confident and calm when speaking in front of a group. Well, maybe doing the icebreaker didn't help me. I won't give it anymore. I understand the structure. Maybe it didn't help me. I'm aware of my strengths as a communicator and leader. Being aware of your strengths doesn't mean you're aware that you're good. It just means you're aware of your level. So I can say, I'm aware now, I probably need help. I'm aware of where I need to improve. Yes. I have clear communication and leadership goals. Maybe the evaluator helped me with enough on here's what you need to work on. I can say, yeah, now I'm aware of I need to work. I recognize how this helps me outside of Toastmasters. Sure. Submit. Gives me feedback and says, here's what you did before and after. You've improved in 2 ways. That's for me and me alone. Nobody else has access to that. But at this point, if I drop this window now, X out of it, and go back to the path, notice this says completed. Once I go through all of these levels, actually, Pete, I'm not going to need you today. Once I go through all of these levels, there's one down here that says I've completed the project, but I am going to use Pete. I take that back. I'm going to do this drop down here, launch. I want to verify. I want to look at this screen. I just want to verify, yes, everything I've done is what I want, so I'm good. When I have finished this and marked it completed, the VPE, president and secretary, should get an email that says, I've completed level 1. Not when I've just done this. I have to do my next 2 speeches. So I would activate my next speech, evaluation and feedback. Now, here's where people have had a problem. They do their icebreaker, the evaluation and feedback, they think they just have to do an evaluation. No, if you activate this next project, and you have to complete all your projects before you can have the vice president of education or the president approve you. If I want to launch this project, I have a second project I have to do. And this project, even though it says evaluation and feedback as the name, you have to be careful. It's just like icebreaker. Yeah, that was the speech. That doesn't complete the project. Evaluation and feedback, if we walk through this section now on evaluation and feedback, we've seen this screen. The benefit of an effective evaluation is the way it is applied. This is where you want to apply the evaluation. I'm looking for the next screen. There's the introduction, and the next screen says, you need to present a 5 to 7 minute speech. So it says the project is evaluation and feedback, but you have to do another speech and get the evaluation and feedback from that. So let's go back If we go through this, we have the same scenario. We have the before, same series of questions, or a little different series of questions. We have to answer the before ones to get the project to change from in progress to the next status level, which says, I'm going to give my speech. I've registered this, I'm going to give my speech. Once I've given the speech, I launch again, go back to the assessment after. Now, it's hard in an hour to walk through every one of these steps over and over and over. So before we get to the end here, I'm going to show you where I have a document that is basically this presentation, but it's every step you need to follow to do what we're doing. The whole premise of Tableau is, let's stay on the screen. You go through what we just did for this. We completed a before assessment, which told Pathways we want to give the speech. We gave the speech. We did the after assessment. We went from in progress to registered to completed in our status. We've completed this project. Once we complete this project, which is a 5 to 7 minute speech and getting evaluated, then we give another 5 to 7 minute speech and get evaluated. And eventually, when we go through what it says to do in each one of these, we get down to this level. Now, it's not going to let me click here right now. We would have to have both of these completed, but there would be an activate and a launch down here. Clicking down here sends an email to the Secretary, President, Vice President of Communication that just says, Chuck Hooper has finished level 1 of motivational strategies. Can you please go in and approve him for that? Once that person, typically the VPE, sometimes the president or secretary, once they approve, I can go on to level 2. And technically I can start level 2 now. Don't. Make sure that everything is covered. We did project 1, here's project 2, do it. Then do project 3. You tell Pathways you're going to do it by doing the assessment before. You tell us you've completed it by doing the assessment after. And let's do a quick, I'm going to cancel everything that we've looked at and just start over to show you again how we get into the next step. Because you give your speech, you are not sitting there with this thing open, you still have to get back in. So if I go back into Toastmasters, I've already logged in, it remembers me so I don't have to log out. I want to go to Pathways because I'm going to go to Basecamp and start up my project wherever I left off. So I go to Pathways. I don't want to choose a path again. I want to go straight to Basecamp. Basecamp is where I manage my curriculum. Again, I have never had a reason to touch this. I have never had a reason to touch this while I'm running a path, while I'm working on it. There are way too many options in Pathways, and that's what's caused some confusion for some people. Again, I want to make sure if I'm in multiple clubs, pick the club I want to be dealing with right now. Especially when you're going to submit an award, make sure you submit it to the right club. I go to Basecamp. This brings up, the reason I didn't get that other, remember that little thing that came up here and we could click and walk through the different windows and explain things? My IP address changes every day. Right now it thinks I'm still on the same computer in the same place, so it's not going to force me to go through that. I always want to access my path. You can click on these for training, give feedback, go collect your badges, do other things. We're not going to cover that now. Those are things you can look at once you get through just getting some levels completed. I want to access my path. Motivational strategies. I'm also in level 4 of persuasive influence, but motivational strategies is the new one we started today. I want to open the curriculum. And it shows me I'm 25% completed for level 1. I am, because I've done 1 of 4 projects. You see another percent over here. I'm 5% completed for my complete path, because I've done 1 piece of 1 project. That tells me that there are 19 more. 5% means there's 20 sections. There's going to be 19 more of these things I need to do. So at this point, once I'm ready to go for the next one, I launch. I wait until it catches up. I do the next. I deliver tactful and constructive feedback. I focus on positive language. I recognize the need to be open to receiving feedback about my performance. You know, I love feedback, and I don't like the Toastmasters way all the time, the sandwich approach. I like people telling me what I'm doing wrong so that I can fix it, not just saying rah-rah for what I did right. I'm able to implement feedback received from others. I try. I'm engaged and respectful while watching and listening to a presentation. Sometimes I doze. My method is to share, observe information instead of advice. I'm going to give myself a 3 on that because it's really hard for me. I'm not a good evaluator. I find that, we have a guy in one of our clubs, Bob Sarhad, that is an excellent evaluator, puts me to shame. I recognize how this, all the before end up with this question. I recognize how this project applies to my life outside of Toastmasters. Well, this project is giving me a 5 to 7 minute speech on anything I want to talk about. So yeah, this is a great step for somebody that has a goal, not just to be a better speaker, but maybe has a goal of being a better speaker on a specific topic. Submit tells me that I've now activated the project. I can close this. When I go back, you're going to see in evaluation and feedback, this project is now in progress. I do the same thing. I give a 5 to 7 minute speech. When I'm done, I come back in here, I launch this, I do the assessment after. I can go straight to the after and do a new assessment. Once I answer all of these questions, this project is going to show completed. When the first 3 show completed, this one says pending prior training. Well, these are the prior trainings it's pending. Once I get through all these things, I think the wording is pending approval. I would still have to click on the activate and launch from here for the email to be sent to the Vice President of Education, President or Secretary. They go in and they have to approve. Now, up until a week ago, and I don't know if it's changed in the last week or not, up until a week ago, Toastmasters and Pathways, the computer systems, didn't talk to each other really well. And one of the things that they've been working on is getting you to be able to approve a project in one place and have it work in 2 places. I bring this up because when you get to the point where you approve the whole project or the whole level, you've done all 3 projects, you click on the approval one, the completion, it goes to those 3 officers. They have to, whoever takes it on has to approve your completion in 2 places. One in Toastmasters, just like they would have done for the old CC or Competent Leader Award, and again in Pathways. And I'm hoping in the latest fix, and I haven't tested this, I'm hoping in the latest fix, they've got it down to where you only have to approve in 1 place. So if you have a problem where you think you've completed something and Toastmasters has no record of it, but Pathways lets you continue, well, only half the work was done. If Toastmasters has a record of you completing something, but Pathways doesn't, only one of the 2 places has been taken care of. Okay? Now, once you go through levels 1, level 2, you get to level 3. Notice level 3 has this executive or this elective projects. 3, 4, and 5 levels all have the same thing. They have something up front you have to do, and then they have a group of electives. And these are just like any project you want to do. You only have to do one of these in level 5. Minimum required is 1. If you want to do more, you can. It's an educational thing. Reach a little bit sometimes and try more. But as an example of the electives, lesson learned, can you give, I think it's a 5-minute speech on what you learned in going through this entire path? Moderate a panel discussion. This is on motivational strategies. How can you motivate a panel to do a good job? Ethical leadership. Wow, that's a tough one. How do you make sure that when you're managing a group, your leadership, how do you make sure you're being an ethical leader? And how do you make sure that the people on your team maintain an ethical process?
To really hold it or to keep you in it. We'll talk about.
Okay, somebody just came on and is not muted. Could you please mute yourself?
Broke out and never looked back. At this little area here.
Man, let me see if I can grab whoever that is talking. Okay, I think they just muted themselves out of embarrassment. No, I just did. Okay, high performance leadership project. That's a longer project. And those of you that have been around a while know that's a significant project. Leading in your volunteer organization, that can be a longer project. How do you join some other organization or volunteer in an organization and become a leader in that organization? Prepare to speak professionally is one of these. This is one where you have to understand what it takes to be a professional speaker and craft a speech to tell your club what steps you're going to take to be a professional speaker, or what steps would it take. And if we activate that, again, you can do these somewhat out of sequence, but I'm not going to say jump from level 1 to level 5, but it gives you a description, hopefully. Response time is a little slow tonight. I think it's because we are right at month end for training reports. We're due yesterday, but today's kind of a grace period, I think. If we walk through that last project, sometimes they do this. Sometimes they give you a video to talk about what you're supposed to do. This is an 18 to 22 minute keynote style speech. So as you go through different levels of these projects, they can get significantly more, I was going to say harder, they can get significantly more educational. When you have to give an 18 to 22 minute keynote style speech where you have to have a good grab of the audience's attention, go through something, sequentially, methodically through a speech, and then have a good gotcha at the end where you hit them in the heart, hit them in the head, hit them in the gut, to get what it is you're trying to get out of them realized. You're a salesperson, you want them to buy. You're a motivational speaker, you want them to feel something. If you're an entertainer, you want them to laugh, cry, do something. And that's what this being a professional speaker is all about. I know at least one or two of the people on this call, as I look at the names of professional speakers. Hello, Gary. Don't know about any others. But one of the goals of Toastmasters is to make you more successful at whatever your goal is. And that's the goal of Pathways. It's to let you, in many cases like this one, you pick what you want to talk about. You have a goal, but you pick. If you go back to the icebreaker, in every path, it's identical. You pick the icebreaker speech. You pick the next two speeches. The goal is just to improve each time in that level 1. When you're through with any level, there'll be a button here you click that sends the email off. They approve you, and then you continue. So right now, I'm going to put something else up on the screen. I can, yes. You see a pathway, startup, simplify it, hopefully. This document that's scrolling by here, I'm going to give you a link to this, but this is a document that basically goes through everything we just talked about and then some. It has been used by, I think, 13 people so far to start their pathways journey successfully. One of them was 84 years old. So we don't have any excuses for anybody that says, well, I'm too old for this. This document, when Pathways first started in our district, I don't know about others, but we had too many people that saw the title of the first level, Icebreaker, and figured they'd do a 4 to 6 minute speech and mark it completed. No, there are multiple speeches that have to be done. This is a one-page document just saying, look, here's what level 1 is all about in every path. Don't misunderstand it so that you go through your levels too fast. Do the work. This document, I'm going to give you a link to this document too. This is a document that shows the 11 paths. What these numbers here, like 1 and 5, 1 and 5 says this path is good at public speaking, training, and building confidence in a speaker. Here's one that does 1, 3, 2, and 5. The order is important too. Each one of these 11 paths is then explained in much more detail, 1 page per path, what's in each project, each level, what are the electives in each level, so that you can get a better feel for each one of the paths. Okay, and here's one more document. Now you can take down the pencil and paper here. These are links to those 3 documents. Do not write these down yet. I'm going to give you a better link, an easier link. Here's a link to go get that document. Highlighted in yellow, if you go to www.biolytics, which is my other business site, /pwhelper.pdf. And notice, P, W, and H have to be capitalized. One of these days, I'm going to learn how to get around that. But it has to be exactly as the document is stored on the website. If you go to this file, if you go to this link, it will download PW Helper, which is that information. Each one of these links will be live so that you can get the all 11 paths link. You can get the warning on level 1 for new people especially, and you can get the simplified document, which is basically what we've been talking about for the last 50 minutes, 53 minutes. And I will leave that up. If anybody has any questions, my email, chuck@speakerpresenter.com or chooper@biolytics.com. I'm happy to take any questions later. So right now, Joseph Skoda, for those that were in on time, Joseph Skoda has hopefully been arranging questions or saving questions. Joseph,
Absolutely. Chuck,
what do you
how
got?
you doing, Chuck?
What do you got?
Actually, one, and it's already kind of been answered, but can you work a different path in different clubs at the same time?
Yes, sir. You can do any number of paths. You just have to make sure when you get to that screen that has the drop down of the clubs you're in, if you're going to be requesting an award, make sure that the club you want to get that reward is the one you have selected. That's critical. That's in the document that you'll get with these links.
Let me see that. Now, one other thing. This is a big one. How do we know that the members have done what they said they were going to do?
The members?
When it goes to the base camp manager, says, please approve my level, whatever. If they
They'll get an
Um,
they'll get an email
what's
back.
the best way?
They will get an email
Right.
back
How do we
that
know they
your
did the work?
they will get an email back from Toastmasters that says your request has been approved. Congratulations.
How do we sure that we know the members did the work?
So you're talking about long term, somebody's gone 3 or 4 paths. How do you know they've done their levels?
Well, some people request, a hard copy, at least the evaluation, for instance,
Oh,
to give to their VP to show that they did it.
yeah, you can, and that brings up a couple of things. You can obviously be evaluated. You can print your evaluation form as you're going through the instructions for each one. One of those little red links I talked about, one of those little red links says print the evaluation form or download it. If your club uses Free Toast Host and you sign up to do a speech, when you sign up to do a speech, you can tell Pathway, you can tell Free Toast Host rather, the agenda, what path you're in, what level you're in, what project you're doing, and print out the evaluation form. People can do evaluation on scratch paper too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Are there any issues of using pathways from your phone, Android or iPhone? Is it
Don't even
user
try
friendly
it.
yet?
Don't even try it. No, from an iPhone, it's horrible. It's just, it doesn't work. And they tell you that. From a larger device like an iPad, as long as it doesn't recognize it as a mobile device, you use a browser and just say, just give me the regular screen. Don't try to make this a mobile app. You'll be fine. But it is not, it is not written for a mobile device like an iPhone. And one other thing,
You think it will be?
I doubt it. That's almost a rewrite. That's a lot. They might, but
Okay.
you know, I live on my iPhone, but I don't mind getting on the computer to do this because it is easier. There's too many steps, too many places. One of the things you mentioned, we were talking about the VPE getting involved. Some of those speeches, like the one I showed you at the end there, which is 18 to 22 minutes, there are a number of projects along the way that are 18 to 22 minutes. A lot of times you don't want to take time in a club meeting to do that long of a speech. It's kind of like being a hog and you'll bore your club members. In the old program, in like the CC manual, you were allowed to do 2 speeches outside of the club environment. In Pathways, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, in Pathways, you can do as many outside the club environment as you want, as long as you have VP approval and somebody to evaluate you. So I've done keynotes in different parts of the country, and I've always checked in front, is anybody here a Toastmaster? There always is. And you hand them your evaluation. You mind evaluating me? And you do your keynote. I have yet to find a time when there wasn't a Toastmaster there willing to do it. So you can do your speeches outside as long as you have VPE permission and an evaluation. What question, Joseph?
The only other question we really had, and boy, I already forgot what it is. What was it? Oh, let's see here. Oh, basically, obviously, if you're a president or VP, you can't approve your own path, and some people think they still can do that. And even by default, it won't allow you to, even if you wanted to, right?
Yeah, they go back and forth. You are not allowed to. They go back and forth with accidentally showing your approval level, and you think you can approve it, it just doesn't count. They don't tell you it doesn't count, you just don't get credit. You click on, ooh, approve this for me, submit it, and it says, okay, fine. It didn't. It's going to punish you. No. Cannot approve your own.
Well, I think we're going to finish it up here, Chuck, but please send the links, and this is recorded, and it will be on our website in a couple of days. So really appreciate all you've given us, us quite a lot in the last hour. We appreciate it, and we'll have that link to the forms you have for everyone to enjoy and utilize.
Sounds good to me. All right, folks.
All right, so
Thank you
everyone for
all.
joining an excellent
And you
presentation.
had my
Thank
email
you.
on that last thing. Feel free to reach out with any questions.
All right. Thanks again, everyone.
right.
Appreciate all of you. Till next time.
Thank you.
Pathways and over and out.
Take care.
Bye. The train.